The news comes at you fast.
America's Food and Drug Administration have said that Trump was incorrect.
There's information and misinformation.
Their own NAFDAC came out and told Donald Trump, "We're gonna be waiting me where you talk. Now you talk and with by yourself. We tell you it's okay."
And making sense of it can be hard.
Coyote, I will let you talk. Coyote, I will let you talk if you let me talk. Coyote.
But that's my job. Let's talk context. Let's talk statistics.
Talk about those bills at the Senate right now.
Let's talk to the experts and the newsmakers.
I see the kind of stability that would allow growth to happen by this time next year.
Every weekday at 3.
Good afternoon. I am Sandra Ezekwesili.
Let's talk hard facts.
Hello, Lagos. Good afternoon. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, and these are your hard facts. We had 571 new confirmed COVID-19 cases yesterday. 571. 152 of those cases were here in Lagos. So now we've had more than 32,000 confirmed cases in Nigeria since the start of this outbreak. So here's hoping that you're keeping safe. Here's hoping that you spent your weekend doing nothing but staying away from everybody. How was your weekend? Mine was great. I stayed at home. I'm hoping you did the same as well. I watched a ton of Nollywood movies. One of the movies I watched was Elevator Baby. And it's really good. You should watch it. You should see it. In that movie, the main character, a young boy, a young man in his 20s, had a problem with his mother remarrying. His father died. And his mother now married another man. And so this young man hated the idea. And of course, he hated the new husband. And so I went on Twitter to talk about it, right? And a lot of men, came into my mentions to talk about it as well. And a lot of them were saying that they wouldn't want their mothers to remarry if their fathers died. And they were actually getting pretty upset about it. And I think this is a conversation that we're going to have next week because I really want to know what you think. I want to know if the people who responded to this on Twitter are very different from the people who will respond to this on the live show. So look forward to having this conversation with me next week. I know. This week, we've got so much. We've got a great show full of facts for you, all 500,000 of you. And I'll start with the big three today. Let's talk about the latest in the presidential panel probe of Ibrahim Magu. And then let's talk about Joy Nunieh, a former NDDC MD, accusing Godswill Akpabio of corruption. And Akpabio responding. And then let's talk about a second allegation against Joy Nunieh, sexual harassment. She says that she slapped Akpabio when he harassed her. Yes, these are three today. On today's checkpoint, we're going to talk about criminal gangs here in Lagos. Hard fact, we'll talk about child abuse. We've talked about it before. Let's talk about it again. We'll talk about child labor in our homes. Last week, I told you about a woman who drilled nails into the skull of a child. Now, that's an extreme case, right? But we see abuse in so many ways, right? So today at 5, we're going to talk about why people still have children working for them, even though we all know that that's the wrong thing to do. After that, I'll hand you over to Rufai for conversations. You'll get news updates on the hour every hour, and we have just a minute coming your way on the show as well. But let's get started with the big three.
This is the Big Three.
The Big Three.
On Hard Facts.
On 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Our first story is the Magu probe. Does the EFCC need reform, do you think? Have Akpabio and Nunieh proven their allegations? And why have there been so many scandals in the NDDC recently? Those are the big three. Let's talk. So like I said, our first story is the Magu probe. That's probably the biggest story in Nigeria right now. The presidency finally made a public statement about the anti-corruption boss being probed for corruption. And the president basically said, this is a normal thing. Nobody is above the law, not even the law enforcers. They received accusations with some evidence, and so they needed to look into it. Meanwhile, the news agency of Nigeria, NAN, is reporting that the panel released some findings to the agency. The agency says that the panel found that of the 836 buildings the EFCC seized under Magu, 332 have not been accounted for. 836 buildings that the EFCC seized under Magu, 332 have not been accounted for. When the EFCC seizes a building because somebody used looted funds to build it or to buy it, they're supposed to keep it until an official auction can be concluded or can be conducted. In fact, they're supposed to call the Ministry of Works to do evaluation of the building, right? And they're also supposed to notify the Attorney General once the building is auctioned. EFCC is supposed to send the money to the Treasury. But the presidential panel is saying that for these 332 buildings, none of this happened. AGF and Ministry of Works were not notified. No official auction was conducted. No money was remitted. But the buildings are no longer the property of the EFCC. So what's happening? Now the panel is accusing Magu of selling those buildings through the back door to himself, to his friends, and to top EFCC staff. That's not all the panel is accusing Magu of. They're also accusing Magu of mismanaging seized assets. Because from the time EFCC seizes something, until the moment that EFCC sells that thing, they're supposed to take care of it on behalf of government so that it doesn't lose value. But the panel is saying that this did not happen. According to the panel, for example, the vessels that were confiscated by the EFCC, worth millions of dollars, sank. Yeah, you heard me. 2 vessels confiscated by the EFCC, worth millions of dollars, sank. The vessels sank because they were not properly maintained. And according to the panel, quote, the vessels named MT Good Success, My PSV Derby, and MV Thames were allowed to sink in spite of several warnings from the Navy on the need to evacuate the petroleum products in the vessels. The total value of the assets lost due to the negligence runs into millions of US dollars. The suspended acting chairman is yet to provide a report on what happened to these vessels, end quote. So not my words, words from the panel. Now that's a serious allegation as well. If it is true, it's a serious allegation. I mean, what's the point of seizing property worth billions of naira if you just let it sink? Or if you let it rot? It's as bad as not collecting it now. But then again, it raises the question of whether the EFCC should be doing all this in the first place. Why is the EFCC responsible for holding on to these properties after seizing them? Why not hand them over immediately to a government agency with expertise? So, for example, shouldn't a vessel be left under the care of the Navy? Shouldn't buildings be placed under AMCON or the Ministry of Works? Or alternatively, shouldn't the EFCC have private contractors who can maintain these assets and be accountable for them? Now, the report says EFCC has some private custodians, but not enough. And then there's a question of transparency in all of this. If these allegations are true, then the fact that an acting chairman of the EFCC could conduct these property sales secretly without the rest of government knowing or approving is a big problem. Now, there's a lot more that we uncovered, over the weekend about this story, but we don't have time on the big 3 to get into it. So tomorrow at 5 p.m., I'm going to have a conversation right here on Hard Facts with Denny Samakri. So be listening tomorrow at 5. We're going to talk about this Magu situation in detail. But for right now, tell me your thoughts. Magu or no Magu, how should EFCC be restructured to make sure these types of things cannot happen? 2 vessels confiscated worth, dollars, huge amounts of dollars. Just allowed to sink. Imagine that. Millions of dollars in the sea. If you were the National Assembly and you wanted to amend the EFCC Act, to make it more robust, more transparent, what provisions would you add? What provisions would you remove? What would you put in place to ensure that confiscated property cannot be privately sold by the chairman? How would you ensure that seized property or assets are properly maintained and not allowed to sink or rot? 0700 993 993 993 0700 993 993 993. You can also send us a WhatsApp message. WhatsApp is 080 959 75805. 080 959 75805. We've got Paul first up. Hello, Paul. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, Sandra, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, Sandra, this nation is not prepared for civilization and growth.
Okay.
We know that Magu is not one of the brightest minds that the Nigerian police can produce to hold that position. Remember that DSS indicted this man not to be confirmed by the Senate as the EFCC chairman. But the presidency rejected it and still kept Magu. Now, the reason why we are seeing all these things, or we are hearing what is happening, the corruption there now, is because of the death of Abba Kyari. Abba Kyari, when he was alive, was covering many things. Since he died, a lot of secrecy or secret dealings have been opened up. So the issue of lack of merit in appointment, quota system, is destroying this nation and breeding corruption. Magu had never been qualified and can never be qualified to be the chairman of EFCC. One of the interviews granted to Magu, when they were asking him about EFCC, in fact, anybody that watched that interview will cry for Nigeria. He was saying that EFCC had built a magnificent building. He did not understand what that question meant for and how to answer it. I said, wait a minute. Can this be possible? A chairman of EFCC? So corruption in Nigeria is pandemic. It's more than endemic. It's pandemic. And the government of Nigeria should do something because our image is tarnished abroad. Look at one thing that is trending on the social media. In Dubai, job vacancy. And in African countries, it's only Nigeria that was forbidden to write for that or apply for that job. What does it tell us? Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, for calling. 99.3, hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your name, sir?
My name is Michael.
How should the EFCC be restructured to make these things impossible?
First of all, where is the chairman of the EFCC brought from? From a rotten system. From a system that also needs a reform. Now you bring a chairman or an active chairman from a system that needs to be reformed, and you expect him to do magic. You can't bring a rotten tomatoes and hand it to a good tomatoes and expect the others ones will not be rotten at the end of the day. So it's all the same thing. So Nigeria, I'm not shocked, I'm not surprised about what is happening. the Nigerian police, how are they being treated, first of all?
Okay, so yes, we have a Magu from a system that is rotten. How do we game the system? I don't believe that there's no way to game the system. Remember, one of the questions I asked was, if you were the National Assembly and you wanted to amend the EFCC Act to make it more transparent, more robust, what would you do? If you had the power, what would you do?
First of all, the legislators have to sit down and first of all look at the acts that make the EFCC. There's a lot of loopholes. You know, there's this quote. There's this quote from this former Ghana president. What's that name? The Air Force man. That says if you make a system more like, in a way, even though you give the devil. You put the devil there, the devil will not find a way to even...
You're talking about Jerry Rawlings?
Yes. You can't, even though you bring an angel to that EFCC, the system will corrupt it. First of all, make the system more difficult, even when there's a point when you give some people an appointment, bring them into a system, some of them will even reject the offer, because when they look at the system and know that they cannot find a way to corrupt the system, they will rather back off than going into it. So the system is the problem. You have to really take a look. First of all, what are the welfare of the Nigerian police? Are they well taken care of? A system that has been there for ages. There's no proper reform. A reform that with the welfare of the Nigerian police is not properly taken care of.
How do you reform a system like the EFCC? How do you do it?
First of all, it all boils down to where you are bringing them from. It all boils down from where you are bringing them from.
So first of all, reform the Nigerian police.
Police. Let's start from there.
All right, start from there, he says. 99.3. Hello. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. What's your name?
My name is Boye Dagunsanya.
Good to have you on the show.
How are you? The issue of corruption in Nigeria, EFCC, is a major problem. But it goes beyond EFCC as an institution. I think it is systemic as endemic. In so far as you have channels through which you can channel ill-gotten wealth to. In so far as societies will worship those who they cannot contest or ask questions about how they got their wealth. Even if you change the person there, you might the loss will be ineffective. Because the person where the FCC could as well collaborate with those who are supposed to check in to continue to engage in corruption. So I believe that the solution to addressing corruption in Nigeria is to go down the very foundation, in terms of how do we react to people who are wealthy, how they get their wealth. If you cannot question those ones, and those who are begging money can still have place to offload their ill-gotten wealth to that extent, there will always be corruption. It might increase, and it may now require having to form a clique of people. But so far, there will be people that will be there, no matter the laws. Once they see that somebody to amass wealth, they will still amass wealth. That's my take.
Thanks for calling to share it with me. We're streaming this conversation on Facebook and YouTube, by the way, and I'll take your thoughts as we go along. We've got Femi Osho, for instance, on Facebook, who says, Magu failed integrity test by DSS and SSS. The president aggressively and high-handedly imposed him on us to ruin Nigeria. This is a consequence of military gene in Buhari. To me, Buhari is culpable in all of this. Atanda Kayode Samuel says, truly, now I know that the beautiful ones are not yet born. I don't know what you mean by that, Coyote, but thanks for messaging us. Femi Santos on Facebook says, we need to scrap this present federal government with immediate effect. And we've got Marcus Mbakwe, who says, so the 332 buildings developed legs and walked away, Abi? Naijana wa. All right, let me talk to Ejumola, I think. And then we'll move on to our second story. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Good to have you on the show.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
You see, the whole problem in this thing, I don't see Magu fault at all. This man was presented to the Senate. They rejected him twice. And the president insists on putting him in that position. I think the person that is corrupt is the president. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Let's go back. According to the finding solution to all these problems, we need to restructure all the system in this country, including Senate, the presidency, but if not only the
EFCC.
The Magu something, everything to be restructured. And moreover, we don't need to even appoint a policeman. The institution is already dented. Let's look for a retired justice with a reputable something to man the position. Who will not tarnish his built up image. I think that is the only solution we need to do. Then everything to the agriculture. Then the 1999 Constitution as amended was given to us by the military. Let the legislature now re-amend this thing and restructure everything so that the country will move forward. I'm telling you, for the last 5 years or 6 years, these people came to power. We are not moving forward. We are backward. Well, I think 50% backward that they met us. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks for calling us. A former NDDC boss accuses the Niger Delta Affairs Minister of corruption. That's our second story. I'm sure you've seen the clips online. Joy Nunieh, she was briefly the managing director on the interim management committee of the Niger Delta Development Commission. But there was a lot of controversy about the commission, and there were accusations of corruption. And so the president dissolved the IMC and set up a new IMC. Now, the National Assembly is probing the allegations, and so they summoned Nunieh, and she had some accusations of her own against Godswill Akpabio, the Niger Delta minister.
For a meeting to plan against him, water hyacinth and distilling, they said that the budget for water hyacinth and distilling was, I think, for about 3 to 5 billion. I'm not sure exactly how much. But that the NDDC, before I came, had overstretched itself to about 50 billion for water hyacinth and distilling. And so the National Assembly had written us, they have it also, they had written us that we should not pay for anything like that. He said, and guess what? Akpabio never signs any document. He will always refuse to sign, but he will tell you to go and commit the fraud. For instance, he told me to go and raise a memo and give an emergency contract for flood victims. He wanted me to take an oath. He has denied that, but I want to say today, he told me up to 3 times until we had a reconciliation meeting at the villa in the house of Mr. Sadiki Abba, who is the SA to the president on domestics. In that meeting was Alhaji Mekano. He said the only condition is that oath. And I will never take the oath from him. So he said he was going to remove me. He started a campaign of calumny against me. He said I did not answer him because the facts will speak for itself. Now, to end this matter about the procurement process, I refuse to go with him to deceive Mr. President at the FEC meeting because the Procurement Act says if I contravene any section of the Procurement Act, it's 5 years imprisonment without an option of fine. So if I go and say they should pay for the process, if you see, they say it's for 2020 budget. Akpabio went to get the approval from FEC. The 2020 budget has not even been discussed by the National Assembly till today. The 2020 budget has not been passed. However, he lied to FEC, which is the greatest embarrassment in this country, for a budget that has not been passed, for an approval to be given for that procurement. I refuse to go.
So you heard it. Nunieh says Akpabio wanted her to approve illegal contracts, withdraw dollars from the NDDC accounts, and swear an oath of secrecy about commission affairs. Well, Akpabio was asked about the allegations, and he said that they're false. Now, Nunieh claims that Akpabio had her fired because she refused to play ball with him. But Akpabio gave a different reason for why he fired her.
She was not relieved of her appointment because of corruption. She wasn't relieved of her appointment because
why was she relieved?
Because of the reasons. She was relieved of her appointment because of insubordination. My ministry that should supervise her wrote 7 letters to her. She never responded to one. And then, of course, she said she was bigger than the minister of Niger Delta.
Okay, insubordination.
Insubordination. I have the letter here.
Okay.
Then outside that, the then chief of staff, may he so rest in peace, sent this to me. This was a petition from an anti-corruption agency, insisting that she did not have the requisite qualification to work as an acting managing director of a commission.
Okay, the title of this, if I could read it, if you permit me to do so, a case of non-possession of valid NYSC certificate by Joy Nunieh, acting MD of NDDC, an urgent call for redress.
And this is what she submitted as her only qualification on earth. A letter from Council of Legal Education.
Okay.
Just read what is written there, confirmation.
Yes, this is to confirm that Nunieh Joy Yimebe was a student of the Nigerian Law School during the 1989 and 1990 academic session.
Go on.
Yes, and she was mobilized for the National Youth Service Corps program for 1989-1990 service year. She has, however, informed us of the loss of her discharge certificate by a letter dated October 23, 2019.
And this is somebody who was supposed to have finished in 1990. And it is in 2019, a few days to her inauguration, that she's informing us through a letter from law school, not through a letter from NYSC. And now she went...
If I can still hold on to this.
You will.
Yeah.
This is her affidavit. Well, this is a private handwriting, which she applied before the law school for a letter. Look at that.
All right. This is written in longhand.
Yes. So you take your time and go through it.
Yes, I will.
She alleged there that she had missed...
letter of introduction to NYSC.
Yes, that they should give her a letter of introduction from law school to NYSC, that she had lost her NYSC certificates, and this is the affidavit.
Okay, apparently
this is the affidavit. This is the affidavit she swore to.
Okay.
She swore to an affidavit in court that she lost her NYSC certificate in 2002.
But he didn't stop there. It got a bit ugly when he talked about her temperament, and he made some personal statements as well.
And by the way, let me just point this out. The last managing director that you mentioned, Joy Nunieh, no matter the allegation, I wish that she would maybe go to a hospital, see a doctor, and then get maybe some injection and relax. People cannot be in offices.
Something wrong with her?
I'm not saying there's something wrong with her. I'm saying that there's something wrong with her temperament.
Okay.
Because you don't need to ask me. You can ask about 4 other husbands that she married. So I want to tell you what happened. And then you also need to bring all the former husbands, at least bring 4 of them that she had married in the past, to this studio, so that you ask them questions one after the other, because it looks like a character problem.
Will they have answers to her professional,
they will have answers
to her professional conduct?
They will not professional conduct. That is not the issue. Is she a professional? Let her come and tell you first. But then tell you about her character, because what I'm seeing here is somebody comes up and then stands on television channel, wow, then the whole world. Nigerians love bad news. I'm not that type of person. I'm a minister. And my job is to protect the citizens of this country and protect the administration of Mr. President. I must tell you that even the President Buhari, was not aware of all these things, because I did not want to bother the man. Because he will be shocked. Of course, he may even ask me.
Well, she did say that if she had appended her signature to a document that, she would have...
There is no such thing. The Minister of Niger Delta...
Sign off.
And the back and forth continued. And we actually even have Nunieh who hit back. And she said if Akpabio really had evidence that she didn't do NYSC, how come that wasn't the official reason that he was removing her?
To give me the query, if I would have responded. Why didn't he use a more substantial case of NYSC certificate to remove me? Why? That would have been a more genuine case if he truly believed that that was a case against me. He should have used the NYSC, but he could not substantiate his case. All he had was a letter that I wrote longhand. So he couldn't use anything about NYSC against me. So he chose to use one about the letters. The law is that he must have written me, but he didn't write me because he couldn't prove insubordination to me. Why? Because the letters Akpabio wrote me.
And there you have it. This is what these two people have to say about each other. At one point, They were the two most senior officials responsible for implementing the master plan for the Niger Delta. Now, you know that the Niger Delta generates almost the entire oil revenue for Nigeria, which is the majority of government revenue. In fact, on Wednesday at 5 p.m. on the Big Hard Fact, we're going to take a look at all the corruption scandals and accusations in the NDDC from the last couple of years so that we can get to the bottom of what is going on here. But right now, let's talk about Akpabio and Nunieh. What do you think about the accusations that she made against him? What do you think about his response to the accusations? Do you believe that he addressed the issue? Or do you think that she hasn't done a good enough job providing evidence? 0700-993-993-993. If you just joined the show, hello, good afternoon. You're listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. We're talking right now about Joy Nunieh, a former NDDC MD, who has accused Godswill Akpabio of corruption. And we also talked about the response of Akpabio. We played you the voices of the different players in that story. Our first story was the latest in the presidential panel probe of Ibrahim Magu. Now let's take your calls. We've got Austin in Lekki up first. Hello, Austin.
Good afternoon, Sandra.
How are you?
I'm fine. How is your day going?
Very well. Go ahead.
Sandra, I want to join my faith with the one of your callers this afternoon that said Abakari's death is revealing a lot of inadequacies in our government house. And you see a lot of all these canker worms that are coming up, and more will be coming up. And I know what is going on. I want this to continue so that we will know the caliber of leaders we have in this nation. I am totally ashamed of myself to be called a Nigerian when I hear a leader speaking in this manner. Somebody like Akpabio. I am sorry. I mentioned his name. But that goes to tell you how the system has rotten so far in Nigeria. The woman, I didn't see her, doing the bathing, because if she had followed the steps or the directive of Akpabio, a lot of millions would have, swept under the carpet again. I would start crying. Where is Wolf? Where is Wolf every day? And Wolf is there in the government house, eating our common wealth. For how long shall we continue to live in this agony of corruption? Who will take us to a glorious land? For how long? Year in, year out, we are hearing the same story. Looting. After being a governor for 8 years, there's nothing to show for it. And still, yes, they are not okay with the one that they have gotten so far. Now they want to go. They are now at the head of the affair. Still looting our commonwealth. May God show mercy to this nation. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, Austin. Why are we waiting for God to do something about it? Hasn't God equipped us to do something about it? That's the problem. That's why it continues to happen, because we keep waiting for God. Meanwhile, God has given you everything you need. He has blessed you exceedingly, provided for you beyond all you can ever imagine. But yet you sit and you wait for God to do something about it. Okay. Tayo, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Sandra.
Good to have you on the show.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, we are talking of corruption back and forth. A country who doesn't have a system that runs it we are going to be facing this issue from time to time. It is one thing that you want to fight corruption, then it is one thing you give it to the professionals to install a system in the country, just like in the other world and the other countries abroad. Because all these things I'm seeing, I am a system engineer, okay? It's a system you have to put in place to fight corruption, not EFCC. EFCC is only for recovery. And if EFCC recovers anything, the fund goes to the court, maybe to the TSA. And if you have a system in place, whoever owns those properties, whoever buying them, the system will document it and inform everybody in Nigeria. For example, when former Emir of Kano State was governor of the central bank, do you know he introduced this BVN system? Though it's just a scratch on the iceberg. What Nigeria will have done, we can do the system like that we tell anytime you buy bicycle, a piece of land, anything you do in the country, the system will take care of that. Number goes with everything. So if you want 10 houses, the system will inform the government, and this will help the government to collect all the taxes. But you don't have a system that runs a country. Why will EFCC forfeit something and EFCC will be the one that will dispose of it? The same thing applies to customs. The same thing applies to immigration. It's not done that way. You don't run a country like that. We have to put a system in place that will give Sandra coded number. I will have my own coded number, just like BVN. So anything, I'm buying a piece of land, then that my number must be before, must be part of this, so that the government can use that number to trace how many houses I get in this country, how many cars, how many. Are we going to be doing BVN for every one of them separately? No, it's only one. Until we install that system, the Germans, they've been used in Europe, used in every other continent, even including Dubai there. But you don't have the system here until we have to install that system. Then all this corruption, then we can stem it down maybe to about 1 or 2%. Okay? So it is the system. Okay? We need a system to be installed. For example, let me give you the same thing this system will bring. Do you know I'm supposed to sit in my house and I apply for my driver's license and it comes through to me without going there? I'm supposed to sit in my house and apply for an international passport. So if I don't go there, nobody will extort me for money.
That's right.
Nobody will hide my file.
That's right.
Nobody will say, okay, come back today, come back tomorrow. So it's the system. So if once we install the system, we create millions of jobs, then there will be transparency in everyday running of the government activities,
all right,
even including private sector. Thank you.
Thank you for calling me. Gabriel, hello.
Hello, good afternoon, Sandra.
Good to have you on the show. Good afternoon.
Yeah. You see, the problem is when you continue to do the same thing the same way, you continue to have the same result. Now look at the background of these people. They are just revolving themselves and they are being involved in government. Now they are coming from one background and they are going against. Why is it only them that are good in government? Why can't you bring people who have this thing up their head to come and do it? Must it come from the same maybe the political party or the same background? That is why we are having what we are having. If you continue to put favoritism in things like this, this is the one we will be getting. There are people who are more qualified to do this job, who are hungry to do this job. Now this woman is still saying Akpabio did this, Akpabio did that. Is it by force to work in somewhere? They said, okay, go, then you can go. It is not by force. And Akpabio himself, he has been here, he has been there, he has been everywhere. Must it be only him? You see, we are the ones that who are the albatross to ourselves. We are the ones causing these problems to ourselves. Let government go and have a rethink. There are people who are more qualified. There are people who can do this, who have the knowledge of doing it. There are people who are hungry to get this nation to a better place, to take it to a higher level. It is not people who are after the post, after the money. That is what is at the back of their heart.
Okay.
So, my dear sister, let me tell you this thing. If you continue to bring these people from that same thing, that is what we'll be getting. Thank you. Good day. God bless you.
God bless you as well, Gabriel. Thanks for calling. Clinton on Twitter says, listening to that woman, Joy Nunieh, I see nothing but a bitter woman, Sandra. She's just being emotional. How Can you explain how? Thank you for sending your message, Clinton. Grace Oladejo says, God, I feel so ashamed on behalf of Akpabio. What was he asked and what were the answers he was giving? He couldn't even address the issue. He couldn't defend himself. Who does this thing? Sandra, happy birthday to me. It's my birthday today. Oh, happy birthday, Grace. And thank you for listening to the show and for talking to us on the show. Honor Godwin says, anybody can face the media and say anything to attract public sympathy. If she has any evidence, let her charge Akpabio to court. Lucky Mikio says, nobody should make excuses for Mr. President in this NDDC saga. This Akpabio man had huge corruption hanging over him, well known by all, yet Mr. President still appointed him as a minister as compensation for decamping from the PDP to the Saints political party APC. We've got more comments on Twitter. Daniel Idowu Abayomi says, the act that set up the EFCC needs to be reviewed for more transparency and accountability. And NDDC drama must not be swept under the carpet. Emmanuel Ufua says, many are missing it up here by saying because Magu nomination was rejected by the Senate. What about the previous EFCC boss approved by the Senate? How did they all end up? Corruption in our nose in many families where parents play special center. What's that? Okay. I'm not sure what you mean, but thanks for sending your message in. Mick Thee says, good afternoon, Sandra. Nigeria is a gestapole country where anything goes. NDDC is just a scam scheme. What are those governors doing in their state? All a scam, Joe. Okay. Now, our third story is another dimension to the clash between Akpabio and Nunieh. She's also accusing the minister of sexually harassing her. In fact, she claims that she had to slap the minister to defend herself. Listen for yourself.
Why did he not tell Nigerians what insubordination was about? Why did I stop going to meet him? He told the Senate committee that I refused to come to meet him to have meetings. Why didn't we hold our meetings at the office? I told Mr. Akpabio that I will not go to any meeting outside his office or my office. The last time before, that week before I left, he came to Port Harcourt. I did not go to the Meridian Hotel to meet me.
Can I ask you?
I went
the reference you just made to slapping the minister. You literally slapped his face.
I'm the only Ogoni woman, the only Nigerian woman that has slapped his face.
Why did you slap him? Why did you slap him?
I slapped him because of his plan B. He thought that he could, since he couldn't get me to take that money, he thought that plan B, if it could come up on me. He didn't know that I'm a Port Harcourt girl. Port Harcourt girls are not moved by money, by somebody telling me that you will pay me a substantive MD. The Port Harcourt girls are...
Can we clarify this? Because we can't gloss over a slap. What is the plan B? He came up on you. What exactly does that mean?
We're having a meeting. Akpabio's meeting with me is either in Abu or at Meridian or whatever. Those are his meetings. I slapped him.
Well, Joy, are you accusing Senator Akpabio of attempted rape? Is that the point you are making? Or sexual harassment?
Harassment sounds better, not rape.
Okay, so you are accusing him expressly of sexual harassment?
Yes, I am accusing him.
Okay.
And I want to say that, most Nigerian women.
So you heard it yourself. Joy Nunieh, a former NDDC boss, is accusing a current minister of sexually harassing her while she was NDDC boss. She's saying he kept insisting on holding meetings with her in hotels. Remember, the NDDC, under the supervision of the Niger Delta Ministry, has the Commission MD reporting to the minister, right? Because the ministry, the NDDC is under the Niger Delta Ministry. So the Commission MD reports to the minister. So according to her, he was making her report to him in hotels. And he offered her money for sex. offered to make her substantive MD instead of acting MD. And according to her, when the promises didn't work, he tried plan B, physical harassment. And so she slapped him. Now, I want you to think about this. You know, when we hear about sexual harassment, people automatically assume that it happens between someone with a lot of power and someone with no power at all. But it can also happen to people who have power themselves, if someone else has more power than them. And so here you have a woman who is a madam in her own right, the acting MD of a government commission with thousands of employees, controlling hundreds of billions of naira. And she's saying that the man she reports to, a bigger person in government, harassed her sexually. Now, Godswill Akpabio is yet to respond to that particular allegation. And when he does, I'll bring you his response as well. But right now, what do you think about the accusation? And beyond this particular case, what do you think about powerful people getting sexually harassed by more powerful people? We've heard of lawyers getting harassed by judges. We've heard of commissioners getting harassed by governors. We've heard of madams in an office getting harassed by the MD. Does it mean that power itself doesn't protect from sexual harassment? And if it doesn't, what could protect from sexual harassment? 0700-993-993. You can also send us a WhatsApp message 080-959-75805. Yes, you can talk about Magu. Yes, you can talk about the allegations between Nunieh and Akpabio. And yes, you can talk about this final allegation of sexual harassment. When you remember the very personal comment that Akpabio made to the press about Nunieh being married 4 times, do you think it paints a better picture about his attitude towards her? Do you think? Because remember, he talked about her temperament and he talked about how she was married to 4 men. He talked about her personal life in something that was a public issue, in something that was about her professional conduct. But he went to her personal life. What does that tell you about his attitude towards her? Oh, and how often have you heard about powerful, important women getting harassed by more powerful, more important men? Or vice versa. Maybe it's a powerful, important man being harassed by a more powerful, more important woman. Because next thing now you say, Sandra, you're a man. Alex is in Victoria Island. Hello, Alex.
Yeah, good evening, Sandra.
Welcome.
You can see the question that woman is putting up. I applaud her for being able to compose herself.
Okay.
Regardless of the fact that some people there are trying to intimidate her by questioning her. Maybe they are trying to give like a much more respect to Akpabio because of where he's coming from, or is a political, is a well-known statesman.
Okay.
The woman asked a question. She said, "Why did he not make her insubordination the subject of her being dropped in the office?" Good question. Akpabio is neither here nor there. In his explanation, he's neither here nor there. The fact is that people should find out why in the first place Akpabio even went far dropping that woman. What is the reason? He has not said what is behind it. This is just one of those women who have the boldness to come out like a Roma, the woman that used to be in circle somewhere, to come out and question and face Akpabio. I am even praying, and I pray. I'm not accusing him. They should please guide that woman so that she's not being assassinated, because I know Akpabio has never been challenged or faced like this ever throughout his political career. And for the issue of Magu, the man who is acting, like, it's a systemic thing. Like the other man explained, that government has to put system in place. The new acting head of EFCC now was the former director head of operations. And you want to tell me that the head of operations does not know how these things should go, like confiscation of assets and the rest of them? We have Nimasa, who is solely trained and in charge of maritime safety. Does EFCC have a maritime space to keep vessels? I beg, I'm tired of this country. I'm tired.
Thanks for calling, Alex. Dixon, hello.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good to have you on the show.
Yeah, I think this issue is a call for morality. I think it's an abuse of womanhood for Akpabio to start using this woman's life experience to advertise this woman. I will be asking for human rights lawyers to take Akpabio to court, not even that woman, because Akpabio has no right to tell the whole world whether this woman have married 4 or 5 times. It's not his business. Can Akpabio tell the world how many women he has slept with? Why will he go on the social, on national TV to make this blackmail this woman that she has married 4 times? What does that mean? The man lacks integrity. It's an abuse. That woman has a right to marry whosoever she wants to marry and to divorce when it is necessary. It is not Akpabio to use it to justify his wrong actions towards that woman. I want to tell you from the reply or the responses of Akpabio, the woman's accusation against Akpabio is genuine. Because Akpabio never answered any of those questions that was put before him. Rather, he was trying to blackmail this woman with marriage issue. Who is a saint? Is Akpabio a saint? We knew what was on his head concerning corruption before he decamped from PDP to APC. And this woman said that Akpabio wanted her to take an oath, which she objected to. Now, Akpabio is asking this woman to report in the hotel. Is the hotel NDDC office? Is it where they're supposed to be holding meeting? And he said insubordination. The insubordination in question is the reaction of this woman towards him. So I want to believe that this woman actually slapped him. That is why he's stemming disengagement from her duty as a result of insubordination. Insubordination on what ground? That this woman say I cannot commit fraud. Insubordination in what way? That you can't sleep with me. That is insubordination. Akpabio, women should rise and ask Akpabio to define what four husbands mean and what insubordination means. If Nigeria is a nation that practices righteousness, women should go on the street to demand for the resignation or removal of Akpabio from that office. He is not qualified to hold such an office. Thank you.
Thank you, Dixon, for calling. On Twitter, Vincent Ukigwe says, if Magu is found guilty, then let them build duplex for him in Kuje and let all that he stole be returned to the rightful owners. Nobody is above probing, neither is anybody above the law. When you break the law, you face the consequences. But the question here is, are those being proved the right people to be probed? Okay, we've got more tweets here. Christian says EFCC shouldn't be restructured, but they should be dissolved and cease to exist. Olarenwaju Abadina says, I submit that if after all these, Magu is not jailed, I beg you people of Nigeria, we must protest at governor's office of our various states. This paddy nonsense must stop. Matthew Shegun on Twitter says, good afternoon, ma'am. Based on my opinion, I don't have to wait for the panel's report, although we're still growing democratically. The problems of EFCC started a long time ago. All right, let's go to Facebook, where we've got lots of comments as well. Femi Santos says, we need to scrap the present federal government with immediate effect. Benjamin Nduku says, Magu is a criminal. He wasn't qualified for this sensitive post right from day one. Last, bush meat has catch hunter. Toyosi Adekoya says, if you're talking of insubordination, he'll be guilty. But if it is stealing, I'm not sure of that. Not everybody accused of stealing is a thief. Ribadu too was accused of corruption, but till today they cannot bring any proof. Toyosi also says that this is blackmail, pure and simple. Henceforth, I won't take this woman serious again. We've got Chimezie Ndukwe who says, please blame Buhari, not Magu. Buhari needs to apologize to Nigerians. We've got Chigozie Uche who says, to me, I think like it was done in the customs, let them bring somebody to head its affairs instead of bringing someone from the Nigerian police. Anozie Emeka says, Anozie Emeka, you wrote something too long. I'm not going to be taking that comment. It's too long. God, no. Come on. But I'm glad you made it, and I'm glad that there are people who are on Facebook, and so they're going to respond to you. On WhatsApp, Sandra, good afternoon. Until we try two things in Nigeria, nothing good will come forth. The first is let anybody who steals public funds or property be given instant judgment, and the other one is jungle justice. These are the things that will make leaders afraid to steal our money. Yeah, but we're not a banana republic now. We are a country, and we have laws, and we have rules, and we have, rights, and even people who are accused of crimes have rights. And so no jungle justice. We've got Bioye from Yaba who says, why is Joy just accusing Akpabio of sexual abuse and corruption after she was fired? What does the number of husbands have to do with Joy's performance? That's shallow and childish. Bioye, thanks for sending your message in. Mike from Moe says, let's talk about the office administration. As for the sexual harassment of a thing, it's normal between men and women, and it's always done in secret. Did he do his own in an open? Forget about that issue. Wow, it's normal, huh? Sexual harassment is normal and it's done in secret? You people are interesting. We've got Tezine who says that all other government parastatals should be restructured as well. All right, Lagos, let's talk about gangs in Lagos, shall we? We've got Chukwudi Ezugu, and he's going to talk to you about different gangs and their activities, and that conversation is coming up. After that, we'll talk about child abuse. We'll talk about why we continue to use children as house helps in Nigeria. I am Sandra Ezekwesili. This is Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info.